Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm Andrew Scaff. He's Mike Werman. He's a medieval historian. I'm a biochemist. Let's talk about sports.
Great to be here, Andrew.
What's our first topic today, Mike?
There's a big news story you may have heard about. The Players Association and Major League Baseball, the Commissioner's Office, have all agreed to actually have a season in 2020. It starts supposedly in late July, about a month from today.
Right. I hear it'll be the shortest season since we were negative 100 years old.
Really? Since 1878?
That's right.
I don't remember that season.
Yeah, neither do I.
Because I was still 100, since my grandmother was not even close to being born yet. Maybe my great-grandfather probably wasn't even born yet either. Maybe my great-grandparents, I'm not sure.
Possible.
But it's nice to be part of history.
In reverse, right?
Yeah.
Right. So all history should be told.
1878, who was our president? That was, I believe, the Hayes presidency, right? Probably. Wasn't he the winner of the 1876 contested election?
How was it contested?
The compromise of 1876, where they didn't count all the votes, and
right.
There was some. It's ended because it ended Reconstruction, and he was the Republican president who said if Reconstruction were allowed to end, the South voted for him. So I think that's what happened. 1876.
Nice.
Our centennial. Also the year of the Little Bighorn disaster. I guess on one side it's a disaster. One side it was just an eventual disaster.
True, that's true. Yeah, it's only from one side, yeah.
So we want to talk about what's our first?
So right. It was like 3 months of debating about which plan to go with, and then they settled on the plan that they'd already signed in March.
Yeah, the keeping of all the prorated salary, but they wanted more games. The players wanted more games, and the owners wanted 0 games, at least for a while. It seemed like, because they wouldn't have to pay anybody.
Or at least some of them wanted no games, right?
Yeah.
Enough where it was a threat to the season, apparently. They still needed a 3/4 majority to even have a season, right?
Yeah, and Manfred, like last week, said that he was not sure they were going to have it after weeks of being very, very positive that there was going to be a season.
100% confidence that there would be a season two. Not so sure.
I mean, I wonder if that was actually reality, or it was just kind of grandstanding because he wanted to make a deal. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it didn't seem like he wanted to make a deal, though, because the 3 different proposals that came from the owners were for like the exact same total dollar amount that the players would end up getting. Players floated a few different numbers, at least anyway, for compromising on total like salary dollars, but
they got the deal done at least, and they're going to get started before the NBA. It seems like probably before the NHL, which is pretty surprising, I think, because training camp's supposed to start like 1st of July, and then the season like by July 24th.
Well, they didn't have any how to deal with COVID or any of the how they do spring training, summer training, I guess.
Yeah.
And none of that was planned until has come together in like the last 2 days, apparently.
Yeah, and I guess like baseball's not as contact heavy as those other sports. So there's not quite the distancing is not as important for most of the time. Again, the only time you're actually next to somebody is when you're on base or at bat. Because again, if you're a fielder or in the dugout. But supposedly, if you're with your own team, you're going to be kind of quarantined with them. So it's not like, that's an issue of social distancing, which seems odd because they've been talking about the social distancing for all the different people. Like in football, I think John Harbaugh or something was talking about, well, why is there social distancing? Because like on the field doesn't seem to be, and in the locker room there is. Which doesn't make any sense because you don't. I guess if you were quarantined with your family or something like that, you're not social distancing at home. You're social distancing just from other people that are outside your family. If you go to a
right
or whatever.
So if everyone sort of isolates separately, you still, in theory, should be able to get together without.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any social
risk.
distancing because you're just social distancing from the world outside the bubble that you're in.
Right. But like the MLB isn't going to do the bubble like the NBA is going to do their bubble, where like everyone actually lives inside of the Disney resort complex for the duration of the season.
So have they decided where the games are they going to be at the home stadiums and the?
For baseball, everything's at their own homes. Yeah, but NBA, it's all going to be in Orlando.
Orlando, yeah, and then I think there's hub cities for the NHL. I'm not exactly sure what they've decided yet, but
right,
Vegas and maybe an East Coast one.
It seemed to me that like in May they could have started already playing baseball if they would have used Arizona as the hub and just played entirely out of the spring training facilities, which they already have, and it doesn't matter what the size of the parks are, right?
So, and just have the leagues split up between the Arizona League and the Florida League,
right?
Have the American National League.
And both of those cities are accustomed to having like large travel groups to come and watch spring training. So it seems like the teams could be able to just essentially take over all of the hotels in the area and bring their families, and they would have had their own version of the bubble there.
You guess they wouldn't have had the. Well, I don't know. Are they going to have fans in the stands?
No, this year, no.
No.
I mean, they wouldn't have been able to if they were, if they started in May and they're not going.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were going to have 5,000 people in attendance at Kauffman.
Yeah, they are starting that in European soccer. I think that they have started to bring, I think, a minimum or maximum of 5,000 fans. I think is what they're aiming for now. So it seems like it's
college football and things like that. They're still thinking there might be fans.
Yeah, but I mean, but the infection numbers are dropping in Europe and they're not dropping in the U.S.
I wonder what the difference is between here and Europe. I don't think it's competent leadership, but or people willing to just kind of listen to. Well, partly that's what America's good because we don't listen to people that tell us what to do, and usually I think that's a good thing, but oftentimes it's a bad thing. Yeah.
That's the downside of the totalitarian.
Of our independent streak. It's good a lot of the time, but bad. When it's good, it's really good. But when it's bad, it's really bad.
Well, so you're saying there's a situation for basically any reason, right? There is, no matter how good or bad the idea is, there's probably a scenario where it is the appropriate decision, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So what are some of the differences that this season's going to have compared to normal seasons, besides the shortened 60-game season? We can talk about that and the Royals' chances with that.
So they are still keeping the same playoff.
10 teams, because they were thinking of one of the compromises the players I think wanted, they thought the owners wanted, was that they were going to expand the playoffs.
Right, because that would lead to larger revenue sharing then too, because the playoffs actually net the owners, the teams, a lot more revenue from the TV deals than the regular season games do. So that was what the players were trying to get, expanded playoffs so that they could share more revenue in the end. And
what do you think? I think 10 is enough well, with 60 games, I think having more playoff teams is fine. But I don't like expanding playoffs when you have 162 games, because I think the idea is that by that time you should weed out the teams that are not as good, and then the playoffs are a crapshoot sort of anyway.
Right.
And so
I think they're still planning on doing the
I'm against
the series, but I haven't heard of that one yet. If it's still 5-game series or one game for the wild card, 5 games for that divisional round.
I haven't decided that yet, maybe.
Yeah. But let's see. Next thing is the 40-game or the 60-game schedule. This has a breakdown, which is not finalized yet, but of 40 games against division opponents, 20 games against interleague games, is what this says.
Wait, so the Royals would not play like the Red Sox then, because they're neither division nor interleague?
I'm assuming that either this article is incorrect or.
I would say get rid of the interleague play. Just play American League teams, mostly division. I would say that makes more sense, right?
That's what I mean. if you're trying to keep things like, if you're trying to like minimize possibility of spreading coronavirus, then you'd think you'd want to play as few games against the other teams as possible. So like,
Well,
you know, let's say
maybe if
maybe
it's
you want to play a
interleague,
40-game season, but they're all against your division only.
maybe if it's
you don't see
interleague,
anybody else in your division until after that.
maybe it's interleague where it's only going to be against NL Central,
Right.
because that would keep us in the Central Division
Right.
rather than traveling from coast to coast. Maybe that's what they mean.
That might be what it is, but I'm not.
It's like playing the Cardinals would be fine because they would.
How many games do they normally play against the division in a regular season?
I think they play 19 against each opponent, so 68 would be. Wait, 1930, no, 66.
56.
So 76 division games, right? Isn't it 19?
19,
yeah. Yeah, 76.
Yeah, so if it's 40, then it's cutting it down to 10. But then you're not playing anybody else from the opposite for opposite coast anyway for Kansas City.
And so there's 5 teams in the AL Central, but there are 6 teams in the NL Central, right? Or no, there are 5 now. There used to be 6.
It's all 5s, yeah.
It's all 5s now. Okay. Yeah, so there are 5 teams.
For like the first time, like it should probably have always been even divisions and not a small West and a large Central. Yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So presumably if they played, we would play a 4-game series then, or two 2-game series against each of the NL Central opponents, if that article is accurate.
I think so. It must be like entirely regional.
So against the Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, Pirates, Reds.
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. Next thing is extra inning games. Runner starting on second base, 10th inning.
They've been trying to get that in place for a long time, like last few years. I think ever since Manfred has been commissioner, to try to speed up extra inning games, which I think is stupid, but whatever.
Extra inning games aren't the norm. I think if they were the norm, that would make more sense. But it's not that many games that happen.
And it's not like the extra inning games aren't boring. It's not like the extra innings are boring. Those are the most exciting ones because it's a sudden death. Not quite sudden death with the top and the bottom of the inning, but
right.
If they score, that's the end of it. And so, I think just trying to make them score faster, I don't think that adds anything to it.
It doesn't make it better, that's for sure.
If it were like a 0-0 game and nobody's coming close to scoring, I could see sometimes that might be a little better.
That doesn't happen now, though. I mean, usually it's like strikeouts and home runs is the normal for hitters now. So
yeah, I don't care.
I don't see the point of changing the extra inning games.
Yeah, why not just put the guy on third base then? Why not? Or why not just give them a run to start the inning?
Right.
Really.
Every team gets an automatic run. So if the visiting team doesn't score in the top of the 10th, then the game's over, right?
Yeah, that's just so lame.
Or just do a home run derby instead.
So who's the guy? So what person do they put in? Is that person now inserted into the lineup, or is that person just a designated kind of runner? And then if he scores, he's just out of the game. So
they follow what they had talked about from the previous years. The player that starts second was the last batter out of the previous inning.
Okay. So if that person scores a run, does that count as a run scored on their stats? Because they didn't get on base. All they did was they happened to be the last out in the previous inning. I don't think that's fair for individual stat counting purposes. Right.
But it wouldn't favor necessarily anyone compared to other players in the lineup. So if they could pick who they wanted to be on, the last.
It's like Billy Butler.
That'd be terrible.
That would have been awful.
Not have somebody on second base.
Terrence Gore, but so that would encourage people in the 9th inning to put their fastest but crappiest hitter on and as a bet. I think that's
a new strategy for managers to play with.
Like Terrence Gore would be very valuable because he wouldn't get a hit.
Yeah,
but
if it's like bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, nobody on,
and you can
try to hit.
Can you pinch hit a batter in the middle of an at bat?
I don't I don't know, man. Minus outside of an injury, I don't think so.
Did you claim an injury? Like, let's say, I don't know, fat guy was batting 0-2. It doesn't seem like anything's going to happen. 2 outs, nobody's on.
Right.
We don't want that guy to be on second in the next inning. Why don't we put Terrence Gore in to strike out?
Right.
And then
He starts the inning at second, the bottom half, the next inning.
That's what I would do if I were the manager.
I mean, I think if you were worried about that, you just make a rule that if a player becomes injured during an at-bat, then they have to miss like the next game too or something, right?
Yeah, that's so many things you have to change and add. It's completely against the spirit of baseball. The person on base. It's another one of Manfred's idiotic schemes that, again, I think he's a Manchurian candidate of some sort that wants to destroy baseball. But,
Manfredurian candidate?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going for?
Manfredian candidate, yeah, I don't know.
Great.
It's not Sinatra.
So neither of us are a fan of the starting at second base, right?
I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 0. That's a 0 idea. One if you have to.
On a scale of 1 being the dumbest thing you've ever heard, 10 being brilliant. This ranks as a 0. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not the dumbest thing I've ever heard because it's we live in America in 2020. But of things proposed by Major League Baseball, it's certainly up there. I might give it a 2.
Having to pitch to 3 batters rule.
I might give it a 2 just so there's room to be dumber, but it's pretty dumb.
Do you like the having to pitch 3 batters?
No, that's also terrible. All of the rules like that are terrible. Other than like maybe the clock to speed things up.
They've been using a clock for the last few years. I mean, they don't actually use it.
It's the constant wristband adjustments that, and then which is what takes time because so there's so much time between pitches. Deliberate workers. I don't know. Call more strikes. I think would be have a bigger strike zone would also make the game speed up.
How long was there was 1 game played without fans in the stands. It was not televised either.
How long did that game last?
How long that game lasted?
I'm going to say 210.
I believe it was under 2 hours.
Under 2 hours, okay. Yeah. I know that the TV breaks are very long, but I think if the strike zone were bigger, and robot umpires could have a way to that they would call things more quickly. They would make and I think they could set a larger strike. They could set that entire box as the strike zone because usually the high strike doesn't get called.
Right.
The outside strike only gets called on one side. The inside one usually doesn't. The low strike usually doesn't either. At least a lot of umpires don't.
Certain pitchers seem to get the low strike more than others do.
Yeah.
Certain types of pitchers, like the sinker pitchers, seem like they, I don't know, do or don't get the calls as often.
I think it depends on the umpire.
It probably does, and the pitcher too, right? Because the more veteran the pitcher, the more likely they are to get.
Yeah, and against the hitter too. The hitter who has a reputation of having a good eye is not going to get the calls that go against him versus a rookie hitter or something like that.
So like a 2015, who was a terrible swinging at everything guy. Sal for many years.
Sally, yeah. Salvador Perez was the most. Any Royals batter you could probably put in that. Other than who's, I guess. Let's say Mark Quinn from the late 90s, early 2000s.
Mark Quinn, they got a standing ovation for taking a walk once. The fireworks, yeah. Okay. So great. I wonder if we can
find even if like you are walking, even if the Royals think you're not walking enough, that's pretty bad. Angel Baroa was like that too. He was pretty unwalkable.
Was from like the last few years, right? Escobar,
yeah.
very rarely walked.
Yeah, last year he was with the Royals. He did a little bit more,
A
but
little more, yeah.
yeah.
But he
I
went
like
like
that.
half a season without a walk at one
He
time.
led the World Series off with an inside the park home run, so he's good in my book.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
Alcides.
So how about let's see, rosters are going to be 30-man rosters instead of 26 for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Just the first 2 weeks.
Apparently,
So where do they go? Where are these non-roster people going? Are they? Because there's no minor leagues for them to be
right.
stored at, so they just gonna like be
Sent home, I guess, right?
or just hanging out and just not getting paid, and then perhaps called up to get paid after the first 2 weeks.
Maybe,
That
yeah.
seems strange. Or are they going to the fall? Or are they going to like Arizona or something? The
Yeah.
fall facility.
I don't know if they figured that
That
part
doesn't make
out
any
yet.
sense.
They have to have some pool of players to pull from if they.
Yeah, where would you call anybody up from then? Just like in the house.
How are they going to be ready? Because they're not playing against anybody, right? So it's going to be really tough. Like keeping your roster healthy is going to be maybe the most important thing this year if you're trying to make a run.
Has there been any discussion of minor league baseball at all this year? Is that just out?
As far as I've heard, it's not happening.
Because they're trying to get rid of all the teams anyway, so
certain franchises are trying to get rid of all their minor league system. I know, and teams like the Royals, though, I think are trying as hard as they can to keep everybody because they realize that that's how you build franchises on a budget, right? So
a minor league, and people, and that's what keeps baseball. It gives fans to you have fans not just in the major cities because baseball I think is extremely localized in terms of its fan support. Like I'm like this. I'm not going to watch just some random baseball game. I might watch a random baseball game in the playoffs, but I'm not probably just going to watch the Brewers take on the Reds. If it's on TV, I would watch. I'd watch a random college football game or a random pro football game, especially over.
But you're not gonna watch a random low A ball baseball game on TV, though, right? So
no, but if I were from that little town, though, I might say, well, I'm going to watch the Royals because these got some old Burlington players, or they have some old Wilmington players.
But if you lived in a small town, you'd be much more likely to go to a minor league game because that may be the only professional sport that's in the
I went to a minor league ball game last summer in Altoona.
Yeah.
The Altoona Curve. And their mascot is named Al Tuna.
Is he shaped like a tuna?
He's a fish, yeah.
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 Or is he a cartoon?
Tuna? He's a fish looking. He's not anatomically a fish, but he looks enough like a fish, yeah. He looks a little like the Marlin guy, maybe, but more tuna-y than Marlin-y.
When you say Marlin guy, I think of the guy that wears the Marlins jerseys that sits behind him.
Not the guy who sits. Not the orange shirt guy who sits. Yeah, next to Tech Nine, but
strangest pairing in random seats behind a baseball park.
Well, at least Tech Nine's from Kansas City. But random, I don't know.
We would expect that, right?
Yeah.
You would never have put those two together in any other scenario, would you?
Did you see the at the Knicks game when Patrick Mahomes was there? He was sitting between John McEnroe and John Turturro.
Interesting. It's a great pairing.
Yeah.
Were they there together?
I was thinking of using that as a trivia, like a visual trivia round. Identify these people.
Yeah.
Sitting next to each other. It was Mahomes, his girlfriend, and McEnroe, and then John Turturro was on the other side.
Were they there as a group? Or
I think McEnroe and Turturro probably have courtside seats to the Knicks.
But maybe they invited him though.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe Turturro and McEnroe hang out together. Normally.
They could. I could see that. Well, if they go to the Knicks games together, they might.
Yeah. Maybe they do because they were randomly sat next to each other in a game.
At the Knicks, yeah.
Could be. Let's see. The trade deadlines move back a month. That doesn't really do a whole lot, right?
No.
It's a short season. Strict social distancing, physical distancing rules.
How does that work? What does that mean? Like, is the catcher gonna have to sit farther back and the umpire stand farther back?
I think it's probably more about in the dugouts
The
and
dugout. I know spitting is supposed to go away, right? That you can't spit
right. Yep. That's one of the things. Yeah.
sunflower seeds or tobacco.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, spitting is prohibited, including sunflower seeds. Chewing gum is permitted, and fighting and instigating fights is strictly prohibited.
Was it encouraged before? It's always been prohibited, right?
It's always been illegal, right?
It's especially illegal now. Don't even try. You will be. You were going to be suspended for 5 games. Now you're going to be suspended for 6.
Six? I don't know. Yeah.
That's 1/10 of the season.
Yeah, I mean, a 1-game suspension is a big deal now. There's only 50 games, or 60 games.
So gum is still allowed, which is interesting.
But no spitting, though. So.
No spitting. Well, we're moving into the early 20th century when spittoons became were removed. This was you used to be able to spit wherever in America,
right?
And because of tuberculosis and things like that, spitting became frowned upon. And so they stopped supplying cuspidors, spittoons, those sorts of things.
So
and there were laws that said no spitting on the sidewalk, no spitting on the trolley, and things like that. But in China, until very recently, spitting was fine. I think it's become more frowned upon, but it was not as frowned upon in China as it was in the West until recently.
So is coronavirus the...
Coronavirus is the tuberculosis of the modern day.
21st century?
21st century, in baseball at least.
Did I miss a century at some point, I guess?
Yeah. But yeah, we can spit. Yeah. Well, I guess can you still eat sunflower seeds as long as you throw those seeds into a container?
This says... Yeah, the way that this article is written anyway.
And by spitting, if you have your own cup, and you only spit into your own little cup, that's yours, because it's like drinking a bottle of water.
In theory, from the scientific perspective of that should be contained, as long as you don't share.
Basically, but the sunflowers, everybody spit them on the floor, and the tobacco stuff on the dugout floor and stuff.
Right, because the virus could be in the spit, right? So, yeah. I mean, no, it's just more about tracking it around afterwards. I think is the But once it's out, I mean, if it's there, if everyone at the end of the game like spit onto the field and then went out, that would be fine because by the next day it should be gone.
But how would they catch you though if you were out? Like if you're center field, no one's going to be able to tell if you spit or not, right?
No.
Is it just spitting in the dugout? That's prohibited. It's spitting anywhere.
They're trying to get rid of it entirely. I mean, it doesn't usually look great on television. I think it's probably more about what this is for than actually trying to get rid of it for like safety reasons.
Yeah, I guess.
I think it's like off-putting to certain fans. I think is more or would-be fans, possible fans.
I don't know if anybody's going to watch. Like say, oh, they're not spitting anymore. Why don't I watch baseball?
I don't think they're worried about losing fans. I think there's a PR.
Somebody is out there saying, I would watch baseball if only they spat less.
Right.
Is the nut scratching going to go away? Because that could be more offensive than spitting to a lot of people.
It's probably next.
Okay. But that's sometimes uncomfortable with those cups and the polyester uniforms, and it creates a lot of heat. Especially the hot games. And those middle-aged, hefty coaches in baseball uniforms.
The only sport that the coaches wear uniforms also.
Yeah, I like that. I enjoy it. Yeah, they don't wear. Well, basketball uniforms are a little bit skimpy.
I would like to see the football coaches
wear uniforms.
Full pads, though.
I could. Well, I think hockey they could wear the sweater or the jersey, but baseball, I guess. Baseball is the only sport where the manager and the coaches routinely go on the field.
Right. True.
So that's also part of it.
True. There have been player managers in the past.
And you have the managers and coaches are permanent fixtures on the field, like the first base and third base coaches.
Right.
They're on the field all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they're uniform too. I never really thought about that until now. I always thought it was kind of funny. Although like Ned Yost would always The managers just wear the sweatshirt or the jacket over.
Something over the top of it. Yeah.
When did the jacket go away for a pitcher on base? Remember, like in the World Series, where like Brett Saberhagen would wear that satin Royals jacket when he was on base.
Yeah. I think it may be more about the technology of like the under like armor stuff that they have.
Oh,
Maybe
it could be.
keep people warm enough that it just.
And I guess there aren't as many complete game pitchers as there used to be either. You don't because you go to relievers a lot more. You're not going to have the pitcher on base. You aren't going to have the pitcher standing on. Some of that's probably been analytical. Some of it's probably been pitcher use because like you want a person to score a run. The run scored is probably more important than having the pitcher continue and get a complete game in the playoffs.
Right. And there's very rarely do pitchers go that deep into playoff games now too. So
yeah,
it's not
like Saberhagen. I think he was pitching in that 11-0 set game 7, 85. So it didn't really matter whether he was going to be taken in or not. They just wanted to get him a complete game probably.
Yeah. Because that's pretty cool, right?
I guess so. Yeah, we're still talking about it 35 years later. So.
Mainly,
I'm talking about it because I thought it was funny that Saberhagen had the jacket on. That's what I'm talking about more. So it's the old-fashioned choice.
And you miss it. You'd like to see more players with jackets on, right?
I would. I also like to see it come back up the satin snapped jacket, which I think is always pretty cool.
How many of those do you have?
I used to have a lot. I still have a couple. I have a couple retro kind of bowling style jackets. But
you have to wear it on the show next time. It's gonna be a
good one.
Thing. You'd have to do it.
They aren't as shiny as the Royals would. But I had my soccer team when I played for the Darts. We had one that was shiny, and the baseball team, real plastic baseball team, had a pretty shiny one as well.
No.
What's the next change?
Well, the next thing's it was just about like opt-outs. So like players that are high risk or have severe complications if they were to catch coronavirus, and those that have underlying conditions or live with people that have underlying conditions are allowed to opt out, to collect their salary and service time.
Ooh, that's nice. I would. Well, I don't know. Like, it seems odd that because like it seems like all these baseball players, it's not like they have to live with their mom or they have to live with some sick person because it's not like those are the only options that they have. It's not like because most of them can afford, even on can afford to live wherever.
Right.
It's a little strange, but I guess you have to have that language. I think it makes more sense for the coaching staff, and because they're a little bit older sometimes.
Typically, no Jim Leland though right now. So
Jim Leland, well, yeah, he was he smoked in the dugout.
Yeah, at like 85, right? So
yeah,
he didn't care. If a team wanted to go full rebuild mode, would you just request that your top players go ahead and sit this season out, and then see if you can get as much playing time for your, almost major league players this season?
Maybe, because then you could hire draft picks and stuff if you. But it's also the thing where you could steal a cheap World Series.
Right.
This is only 60 games. You just have to get hot for a little while.
Yeah.
And
so maybe like if a team's not doing well after the first like 25 games, they're like, we got no chance of this.
Yeah, if you have a bad start, that's gonna do it.
Send all the regular guys home and just bring up everybody else.
Yeah, if you go like 10 and if you start like 10 and 20.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not gonna have much chance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically have no chance at all. Not even much.
No, because you're gonna have to finish probably. How many games do you think you'll need to get the second wild card? You can't. It's got to be probably 34, 26. You think that's going to be the?
I mean, yeah, around 30 wins is probably like in contention.
Yeah.
Because 30 and 20 is a pretty good record at that point.
No, 30 and 30 would be 500.
Well, it's 60 games. I was thinking of 50 games. Never mind.
50 games, yeah.
So like,
I was thinking 34, 26. Maybe a little bit above.
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah. Around 10 over 500.
Yeah,
pretty good chance. It should be close anyway. So do you think some team will have like less than 10 wins or more than 50 wins?
No, I'd say there might be some teams with 15 between. I could see a 15 and 45 team or a 45 and 15 team. The Yankees, one of their World Series years in the early 2000s, weren't they about a 750 winning percentage?
Yeah,
Um, I think
close.
or that Mariners year where they won 116. That's
Yeah,
not a seven.
almost like 720 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a 45-15 stretch is not it's not that out of the question. I'd say probably it'd be I'm going to say 43-17 is going to be the best record. That's my guess.
And now it's down. It's recorded.
And 17-43, I'll say, is the worst record. Actually, I'm going to say 16-44 is the worst record. I think the worst teams are going to be slightly worse than the best team.
That's usually how it falls in baseball.
Mm-hmm. There are more teams that are winning closer to 45 games than are losing. There are not as many 117 and 45 games.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, it seems like it's easier to be bad.
Yeah.
Than it is to be like good plus lucky combined.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's all the rule changes.
What about the wet rag? What about that rule? Remember that?
Did not see that in here. What was the what rag?
Instead of pitchers being able to lick their fingers to get a grip on the ball, they have to use a wet rag.
So they have to carry their own wet rag? Because you can't share wet rags.
Well, and also you can't put the wet rag on the mound because it's just going to get muddy. I don't know. Had you heard about the wet rag?
I had not.
Is that something that I have dreamed up?
I mean, it sounds like something that they would talk about. Maybe that was like a discussed thing. I don't know.
Yeah, wet rag among proposed rule changes for 2020 season. DH, the universal DH we didn't talk about.
Yeah, that wasn't in this article either. I think those are things that haven't been finalized yet.
3 batter minimum.
That they were going to change anyway.
Is still going to be implemented apparently. Oh, it's here. Accounting for the novel coronavirus, pitchers will be allowed to keep a wet rag in their pocket as a substitute for licking their fingers.
I mean, you're not supposed to lick your fingers on the mound anyway, but
that seems uncomfortable. But they do that a lot. They kind of, yeah, you're not supposed to, but
not on the mound. They're supposed to. They came out like off the mound, but not on the mound.
Yeah.
Supposed to be like a automatic ball, I think, is what.
Yeah.
Because they're assuming that they're just putting that right on the ball. Then, if they are on the mound when they lick their fingers, so many minor rules in baseball, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
All right, so with these different rule changes in the short season, what do you think the Royals' chances are this year as opposed to if it was a full regular season?
Let's see. For the full regular season, making the playoffs this year with that team, less than 10% chance.
Pretty up.
I'd say 5% would be pretty good odds for them to make the playoffs. So 1 in 20 chance. And if it were the long season, I'd say maybe up to 15% chance for the short season, because if it's short, they could get hot. The other teams in the division could falter. The Indians, the Twins might have a slow start. The Royals might have a hot start. Could be like that. Was it 03 Royals, the 2003 Royals, where they were above 500, 83-79, but they started out so great, and they were the division leaders through August.
The Don't Stop Believing year.
Yeah, the Aaron Guile experience.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think the odds are much higher than they would be normally, and if they're playing all these games against their own division, if they do okay in those games, then crush the National League and the interleague part, which is usually what they do.
Yeah. So I think. Yes. Yeah. What would you say their odds are?
Well, I mean, they'd have just on straight up odds, they'd have a 20% chance of winning the division, right? 1 in 5.
Yeah, 1 in 5. Okay.
And it could be slightly higher, maybe up to 25%.
I
don't know. I think it's probably somewhere around there. But
They
that's
have a
yeah. I think it was easily way less than 10%.
Yeah, they have a five. Well, I guess there are five potential playoff teams out of 15. So technically, they have a 1 in 3%
Yeah,
chance. But really, it's a one.
I think it's about the division being not great.
Yeah, the division is, well, you have to be a division winner. So there's 3 out of 15 division winners, and there's 2 out of 12, I guess, technically wild card
Right.
things. And I don't think the Royals have.
I think their odds are to win the division rather than it be a wild card.
Wild card. I think that's probably more likely.
But that's just. But yeah, I mean, if you're not playing teams outside the division, then it could be.
Yeah, because the Tigers are going to be bad. The White Sox are probably going to be bad.
But they're supposed to be improving.
The White Sox are supposed to be better than the Royals, though. The Royals are supposed to be bad.
Yeah. And the Twins had like a random good year, so like people think that they might be good again.
Yeah, and the Indians are getting rid of all their good players, but they're still
Right.
doing well. Yeah, who knows? They can get, if they get hot. I'd say if the Royals start out like 7-3, 8-2, then I think we're thinking probably 50-50 shot.
I think yes. I think the odds go way like probably double what they were.
But I think more likely they're going to be like 3-7, and they're going to be out of it to start with because they don't have the pitching, they don't have the hitting, they don't have the bullpen.
No, I think they have. I think their hitting is actually okay. The pitching, it seems like it's getting slightly better, but they're not.
They don't have a great set of starters. They don't have a great set of relievers.
But they're not good.
Yeah, I don't. I think they're back. Well, Salvi will be back this year.
Right. So I mean, all the pitchers should be slightly better automatically, right?
Yeah, I guess because he calls a good game. His framing, though, is supposedly suspect.
But there are very few like pass balls.
That's true.
Wild pitches go down.
He commands the base paths more than someone like Kim Gallagher.
Teams more like
Valoria.
Yeah. For most of his career, right?
Well, if O'Hearn hits like he did 2 years ago,
right,
or McBroom hits like O'Hearn did 2 years ago,
right.
Who's our second? Is Witt going to play second, or who's going to play second?
Well, I mean, it'll be who's the kid they brought up last year? Yeah, Witt's probably in center again, though, right?
Yeah.
Nicky Lopez.
Nicky Lopez. I don't like the sound of that. But if Witt can play second, because the outfield, I think, is more likely to be solid than Nicky Lopez is to be a great hitter at second base.
Right. Agreed.
Shortstop is already
Mondesi, obviously. Right?
Mondesi, yeah.
If Michael Franco doesn't get third.
Franco. Doge. So the outfield would be Dozier, Soler.
Soler's probably DHing, I think.
Soler DH. Dozier.
Dozier and right. And
Gordon, I guess. And I don't know, Bubba or what's his name? Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, I think Witt's probably going to be playing center most of the time.
Brandon Phillips. What's Phillips' first? Brett Phillips.
Yeah.
Brandon Phillips was the second baseman for the Reds for many years.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Phillips had a few good games like towards the end of the year too. Like
he's good. He's a very good defensive outfielder.
Yeah.
Bubba maybe if he.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Reaches his potential at age 46.
He's very much like Gordon was in like his development time though, right? Like the team's given up on him like 3 different times.
Yeah.
But they're almost on the verge of giving up on him. They change positions and yeah.
Yeah, the Royals have so many poor draft picks that have, over the last 15 years, it seems like. Although from what we looked at, their drafting is not any worse now than it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it seems like.
Sadly, yes.
Maybe that just is because the draft is such a crapshoot.
At least it seems to be for the Royals anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like to be that way for like the Rays or somebody. They seem to draft.
Yeah, but they seem like the Rays have like this combination of player development and possibly draft skill, and along with like it seems like their whole organization is geared towards that strategy, and at least when Joe Madden was the manager, then it stayed with that all the way through. But
Yeah.
it seemed like they were really coordinated from top to bottom at getting young talent, keeping them, and then trading them for more young talent when they had holes in their minor league system.
Yeah, they've been good at that, but they haven't won a World Series like the Royals have, because it's kind of sort of the playoffs are kind of a crapshoot. I guess they made it in 2008. Is that when they played the Phillies? Was it the Phillies who beat the Rays, or was it the Phillies who beat the? I think they beat the Rays when the Phillies won their one World Series. I want to say 2008. That was.
But they made the playoff run after.
They made the playoffs quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're always decent. The A's they're a little bit like the Rays and the A's are kind of similar that way.
Right.
Would you trade the Rays' success for the Royals' success of being to have 2 spectacular years, 2014, 2015,
Yeah.
for kind of sustained excellence?
No.
Me neither. Me neither. I am much more pleased with the Royals, what they did. It's unlikely that it would have panned out. Maybe it was less likely to pan out that way. But I'm much happier with the two back-to-back World Series, almost winning 2 in a row.
Yeah. Down to like a one-run game, right? In Game 7.
Yeah. Guy on third base.
Right.
Yeah.
A single.
Possibly an inside the park home run Gordon could have hit.
Right. Would you have said him?
Yeah, probably, just to see what happened.
Knowing what the outcome is on this side, if you went back in time.
I'll know what the outcome is, but yeah, I don't know. It's like the idea that Salvi would hit the guy in. You have a 30% chance, let's say 30% chance of scoring that run with 2 outs, really.
Yeah.
If you think you have a 30% chance of scoring the run, which I think you do on almost every throw from the outfield, because there's so much that can go wrong.
It could go like any direction.
I think, well, you can look at that Hosmer play in 2015, because he would have been out had there been a decent throw. That slide up there, had future Royal Lucas Duda made a better throw, he probably would have been out. But the throw needed to be there, and then the guy would have to go and tag. And there's a lot more to that than there is, I think. And so even if one of those things is probably 70% chance of happening, the tag is probably also only 70% chance of happening. Multiply that together, it's a 50-50 play.
So do you think the Hosmer play from 2015 happened as a result of not sending Gordon in Game 7 the previous year?
No, but it's an interesting. It's ironic, I think.
They took the chance and it paid off.
Because I don't think
I
don't think it was the decision for Gordon to go or not. That was a coaching decision.
Right.
The decision for Hosmer to go or not, that was Hosmer. And so I think.
But in theory, it was something they had talked.
I think the Royals would have, if he had been waving him or stopping him, Jershely or whoever would have been the third. I think what was it, Jershely in both years would have been. I think he would have stopped him and said, "Don't do it."
Yeah.
But again, he might have. Gordon could have, I guess, run through the sign, but I think it's less likely that's going to happen.
Right.
Because that throw, I kind of wonder, was Gordon closer to home than, for example, Escobar was when the ball was hit over Puig's head? Or did they not send him because Gordon was not as? I don't know. People always say he was going to get thrown out.
Yeah.
But I think, though, it's not that likely that Perez was going to get a hit against Bumgarner, whoever wasn't it Bumgarner pitching?
Right. There's more that has to go right from the throw perspective. Gordon's path is defined, right? So
because the throw could have been thrown and then cut off and then thrown again. So you could have 2 throws there, 2 throws and a tag. And again, if you say the throw is going to be good 80% of the time each time, 80% times 80% times 80%, that's less than 50%. I think that's less than 50%. Yeah. Or if you think 70% twice or whatever. And so And even if it is 80% twice, that's 64% chance he's going to be out, 36% chance he's not. Perez is not going to have a 36% chance of scoring that run because he's only got one out to play with.
Right.
He's not a 360 hitter against Bumgarner.
Not against Bumgarner. Although didn't he hit a home run off of him earlier in the game?
Maybe, yeah, but that's, again, I wouldn't say that's yeah.
Well, I think that was part of the reasoning as to why they stopped him.
But again, you're not supposed. But those, matchup, those small sample size matchups are not what you're supposed to be playing with.
That's you and I having this discussion, not Ed Yost having this discussion.
Yeah, and you would think, well, even if you are thinking that, you think, well, Bumgarner is going to be mad that he let the guy hit a home run already, so he's going to be especially bearing down. Right. And I would say he was fantastic in that postseason. And especially with that game on the line, he was going to be really, really
he was going to throw 30 innings if he needed to, right?
Yeah. And the reason that Gordon did so well is because the outfielder made the mistake. Right. And the outfielder who would have thrown the ball back was also the guy who would have misplayed the ball originally. And it's not like – and I would trust, again, Bumgarner's play over those, the random left fielder and even over Buster Posey's catching it and tagging. So the more I think about it, I would have sent him, even though it seemed like it was an out. Partly because, again, I guess hindsight, we know he didn't make it, so we might as well try it. But I don't know. It would have been so cool to see him, to see that, right? Yeah, and getting thrown out at home, that would have been so much more exciting
for an end like the bottom of the ninth inning.
And it's like you really, really went for it.
Yeah,
and that there's something to be said about that, I think.
But just going for it, right?
Yeah. Kind of like I don't know. Yeah, like if you went for it on fourth down and you didn't make it in the Super Bowl or something, rather than kicking the field goal and tying it, and then the other team marches down and scores.
Hoping for playoffs.
A defensive stop, or something later. Yeah, I think going for it is always. I don't know. That's I'm not I'd be more risk averse probably if I actually had the job of coach or manager.
But so that's where for this new short season. Then I do think the Matheny being the coach may give us a slight advantage over having Yost in the coach in the short season.
Do you think Matheny will be more of a gambler? Is that your?
I just think that Yost always tended to not necessarily care about every game. And so didn't seem like he was trying to win every game. It was just, you got to win.
He was very much, and this was very good for the Royals to develop players because he said, well, we're going to leave Escobar in, or we're going to leave Osmer in, even though he's not hitting very well, because we think that's going to develop in the long term.
I mean, that strategy's fine most of the time, but like in the short season, though, like if you have a chance to win a game, you got to take it. And I don't think that Yost had that mindset at least in this kind of setting.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I tend to agree, but I don't know what Matheny's style is, so I don't really
either. So I know Yost's tendencies more. Not Yost is probably preferential to
But Yost didn't. This is his second job. Yost did a lot better for the Royals than he did for the Brewers when he got fired, like in the middle of their playoff run, right?
A month ago. 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah,
they just knew they didn't want him coaching in the playoffs.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if you look back at our old stuff that we were writing from that 2014 season, I would have fired Yost then.
Yeah, and maybe the Royals won despite Yost rather than because of him, but
that would be my personal history with writing about this.
But 2 World Series in a row is hard. Like it's either very random or very difficult to do.
Right. The odds are very far against,
especially for a team like the Royals, because they were not like the Red Sox or the Yankees that just blew everybody out.
Right. There's a question if they'd make the playoffs at least in one of the seasons.
Yeah, and they had great bullpens that could close games out, but they didn't have great offenses.
Right.
They had clutch offenses sometimes. and pretty good players, but they
Well, in the playoffs, they were totally clutch. Like every opportunity they came.
but there are no are there any Hall of Fame players for the Royals?
I mean, I think there are plenty in the Royals Hall of Fame and the full
No.
Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Do you think Salvador Perez could make the Hall of Fame?
I think he might have a shot. It depends on what he does with the next.
He's probably the best shot the Royals have, though, right? Of anybody.
Probably.
Gordon's very good. Moustakas is pretty good. Hosmer's pretty good, but
Yeah.
I guess Mondesi. Well, technically Mondesi was on the 2015 World Series. He could be.
Because he did have one at bat.
Yeah, but I don't think there's no George Brett on that team.
I mean,
there's no Mookie Betts, or there's no.
I mean, if some of those guys go on to have like multiple World Series appearances that after they've left the Royals, maybe the Royals would be a share of a Hall of Famer, but
they didn't have a pitcher that was like Cueto was the closest in 2015 to be dominant. He was a flash in the pan, really.
Yeah, well, and he's kind of a journeyman too, so
yeah,
they don't tend to fare well in Hall of Fame voting.
But like the
Hosmer, Moustakas, unlikely.
No, no. Kane, Kane's a pretty good player.
Yeah, but he's already older.
Yeah, he's not.
It doesn't mean that like teams that they go on to play for, if they end up winning a couple World Series, they get like an MVP award like in this season, in the shortened season. What if one of them won an MVP and they end up winning the World Series too? They could get votes for Hall of Fame, but
I suppose. Yeah, I think if anybody, maybe Perez if he lasts a long time, because I think do you think Yadier Molina is a Hall of Fame player? Because catchers are judged a little bit differently from regular players. Right. They don't have to be as good. They just have to have kind of a reputation.
Yeah, I mean Molina's he's probably close. I would think he should get some serious consideration.
I think Perez is every bit as good as Molina. He just wasn't as many playoff teams as Molina was.
Yeah, they're pretty similar players, really. Which is maybe why I think is actually why the Royals wanted Matheny, because he was a catcher himself and then coached Molina.
That's true.
Through his transition from being the young star prospect to major league leading franchise leader, right? So
did he coach him on the neck tattoos? Was that part of Matheny's process?
I don't know.
Some neck tattoos.
We'll have to do a deep dive into that on a future show. We'll have to see when they showed up and see if we can attribute that to statistics and to managing, right?
Yes, I think. Do you think Molina's been better or worse since the hideous neck tattoos?
I couldn't tell you.
Good somehow. Who thinks like what? I don't know. Do women think those tattoos?
This is where I'm supposed to turn and show that I just got this done right now.
Marina would come in handy, I think.
Right. So that we'll have to have that discussion about neck tattoos with when Marina's on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So the wet rag. That's where we. Yeah. Any other? So we talked about the Royals' chances.
Yeah.
Have we covered?
I think the last thing on my list, anyway, is the draft.
The draft. Okay, let's talk about the draft.
Sure.
5 rounds this year.
Save that for next time. Because we get too
40
late.
rounds. 5 rounds this year instead of the traditional 40 rounds.
5 rounds. That's right. Compact. 5 rounds. Royals picked
6 times.
6 players.
6 players.
Signed them all officially as of today.
Yes. Under slot total, I saw. Although the first 2 picks were above slot, the last 4 were below.
So they were efficient then in that, right?
Yeah. Asa Lacy, the draft pick out of Texas A&M, number 4 overall. Supposedly the number 1 arm in the draft, also left-handed.
He's the first Texas A&M.
The highest drafted Texas A&M player since 1993 or 4, I believe, when Jeff Granger was number 5 overall. Also drafted by the Royals, who did not have a good career.
Also a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah. Was he lefty? I don't remember Jeff Granger.
I thought so.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember when they called up Jeff Granger. You look him up, I guess.
I can look it up. Yeah.
I
I think he was. I was like, I thought that all those parallels were odd, right? Because it's the same slot.
Yeah.
Same team drafting.
Was he fourth overall? Was Granger fourth or fifth?
I'll find out here in a second.
Yeah, same.
He was fifth.
Fifth overall.
Left-handed pitcher, yeah.
Left-handed pitcher. Different. Different. I guess different. Really, it's different era. Hard to compare.
Sure. Right. Different GMs. Different. Right.
But Jeff Granger, looking at his stats, he only had a 3.09 ERA in his career. That's pretty good.
Not so bad at all. In today's game, that's pretty phenomenal.
I guess he was he only pitched 31 innings. So it's hard to say. Was he hurt? Did he get injured? Is that why he fell out of?
Wait, what did you say his ERA was?
I thought it was 3.09. No, wait, no, it was 9.09. Excuse me.
9.09. That's not very good.
Wikipedia tells me it was 3.09, but it was 9.09.
It was 9.09.
I'm going to correct their Wikipedia. Right, it says he pitched 87 games, 219 strikeouts. I don't think he pitched that many games.
I don't think that's accurate. He pitched in 27 games, threw 31 2/3 innings, 32 runs, and 31 2/3 innings.
Yeah, that's wrong. I don't know. Look at the Wikipedia page. Where did they get the?
Maybe that was his college game.
Or his minor league stats? Or is Jeff Granger altering his Wikipedia entry to make it look better? Interesting.
I don't see stats on this. Oh.
In the box.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's just wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, he will try to be better than Jeff Granger. Asa Lacy, he looks like a ventriloquist dummy. He's got that kind of polished wood face.
May or may not be a ventriloquist dummy. I think.
I hope not.
Phrase.
But if he's a possessed ventriloquist dummy, those can be pretty scary. And all ventriloquist dummies on in movies and things like that turn out to be evil. So at least he's on our side.
True. He's our ventriloquist. So how normally how would you think that the short draft would affect a team like the Royals?
Well,
historically been great at drafting.
Historically, the Royals have been bad at drafting. But the Royals did pick up, apparently, as what we've been reading about, very good non-drafted prospects for $20,000 apiece. Anybody who was not drafted in the first 5 rounds could be offered a $20,000 signing bonus, no more than $20,000. And the Royals signed, I think, 7 of the top 25 non-drafted players. Maybe more. Maybe they signed some other ones as well, but so I think they did very well in the draft. Everybody was saying that Lacy was a steal at number 4. He was probably somebody that should have gone in the top 2 or 3. And he was the best pitcher, people thought, at least the scouting services. So I think that's very good. I don't think the Royals have a lot of top end pitching. I think they have a lot of very good pitching prospects, but not a Lacy caliber guy.
Well, they've got a lot of pitchers they like, I think, in Dublin.
Yeah, they've got a lot of kind of good college pitchers, but I don't think any of them were seen as like potential aces, like Lacy. Lacy.
Aces. You don't see them as aces.
He was only the 3rd Major League Baseball, or if he plays Major League Baseball, he will be the 3rd ASA ever to play. The first one since 1881.
Wow.
Asa Stratton, 1881.
That's a long Asa-less stretch there, isn't it?
Asa Stratton played for the Worcester, Massachusetts Ruby Legs in 1881. He had 1 game, 4 plate appearances, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit. The other Asa Brainerd, had a 4-year career starting out for the Washington Olympics. He was a pitcher. He then played for the Middletown Mansfields, who I think we talked about one time off the air, and then also for the Baltimore Canaries, with whom you may remember from the 1873-1874 those seasons.
Special place.
The National Association was what the league that they played in. Baltimore.
So you're saying that
that was the and that was the 1873 Boston Canaries, or the Boston Red Stockings, won the league with a 43-16 record. So they only played 59 games that year.
right.
So maybe having another Asa will help us with the shortened seasons.
But you're also saying that he has a chance to being the best Asa.
I'd say pretty easily. Asa Brainerd, career WAR -6, 24-53 as a starter, or 24-53 win-loss record, 4.4 ERA. Again, that time probably not so good. But if he has a -6 WAR over 4 seasons, that's not so great. And the other guy played 1 game and had 4 at-bats. So I'd say this Asa is well on his way to becoming the most successful Asa of all time.
Gotcha.
Asa Lacy. So that's my bold prediction. He will be the most successful Asa to play baseball. And I would say also the most successful Royals top 5 Texas A&M pitching draft pick. I'm gonna go on a limb.
At least of the last 30 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's better than Jeff Granger. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right.
I'll say that. I think Jeff Granger was seen as a reach, even at that time. I'm not sure though, but I'm just gonna say why not.
We'll have to do our draft dive. Past draft dives in a future show.
We should. Well, that's all the time we have. I'm sorry to say, Andrew. The red light is really going off in my home studio.
The producers are saying wrap it up.
The producers are saying to wrap it up. They got this little the finger scissors are really working hard. Yeah, we haven't gotten to the more threatening gestures yet, but I'm sure those are soon to come. So with that, I must say adieu. Farewell, my friend, Dr. Scaff. As always, I'm Mike Werman. As always, you are Andrew Scaff. And we'll see you next time on another installment of the Warning Track Power Hour. Good day.
Perfect. Nailed it.
Nailed it. I'm sure that's fine.